welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Hi, this is Evelyn Hershkowitz, Reader Services Librarian on Turn the Page, Syosset Library Podcast. I'm here today with Heather Marshall. I believe this is Heather's third book we're going to be talking about, and I have read her other two, which I loved also. And this one I loved just as much. Liberty Street, it's called. And Heather is a #1 best-selling author of Looking for Jane and the Secret History of Audrey James. She worked in politics and communications before turning her attention to her true passion, storytelling. Heather lives with her family near Toronto. So thank you, Heather, so much for joining us.
Thank you, Evelyn.
So I finished Liberty Street last night. I couldn't put it down. It was so good. I want you to tell everybody what it's about.
You got an early copy. Did the
Yes, I
publisher send
did.
you one?
And the
Oh,
audio too. So I was reading and listening. It was
fantastic. The audio is really awesome. It's incredible. I thought those women did such a great job. I'm really
fabulous.
pleased with it. Yeah. So Liberty Street takes place in Toronto in the 1960s at a women's prison that is now defunct, but was very much operational until the late 1960s. And then there's a other timeline, I won't say present timeline, in the 1990s, where a detective is trying to identify an unknown body in a graveyard. And the two stories do intersect, but I won't tell you how. We're going to try to avoid spoilers. You'll have to read it to find out.
Absolutely. So it's sad because these women in this women's prison were treated so horribly. Um, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, and it's incredible that this is what took place in Canada, in Toronto. I mean, just over the border from the United States. I mean, it's just crazy. Um, I'm just going to go back and say a couple of other things that your debut novel, Looking for Jane, was an instant #1 bestseller. We could not keep that book on the shelf. That book
Oh,
was so popular when it came out. Everybody loved it. And then your second book, The Secret History of Audrey James, both me and the head of Reader Services picked that as our one of our favorite books from the year. So we love that one also. I mean, your writing is just so spectacular. And what I am in awe of is your research. The research you must have done. I mean, obviously for the other two books, but for this one in particular, what was your research process like?
the research process for this book was very intensive, and I loved it. I'm a history nerd at heart, and so I'm always a little disappointed when the research process is over and I have to actually sit down and write the book. This one, I knew I needed to get as much information as I could about this prison. And as I say, it's been destroyed. It's now defunct. But the year after it closed in the late 1960s, they bulldozed the whole thing and put up a soccer stadium. So you can't even visit this historical site the way you can with a lot of
Right.
closed prisons. They're open as historical landmarks, which is another reason why most people in Toronto don't even know that this place existed.
Of course.
So I thought, where are the records? There must be records for this place. So I went to the Ontario Archives in Toronto, and they had some fantastic librarians and archivists who helped me unearth as much information as I could. I did run into some snags, though, with legislation where a lot of I mean, they were girls who were at this prison, minors, were protected by privacy legislation because they were minors, and also the Youth Criminal Justice Act. So it was really hard to get access to this information, even though those records were quite old, they were still protected. And because I wasn't a direct descendant of any of the inmates, I was pretty much shut out of them. But I did get my hands on redacted records where they removed many identifying features that might identify the inmates. So I could get a sense of why were these women at the prison? What was their day-to-day like? What did their prison uniforms look like? All kinds of detail like that, as well as blueprints about the prison that could give me a sense of the layout and what it might have felt like and looked like inside. So that research process was so satisfying and so exciting. I loved poring over those old documents. But then I had to just use my imagination to sort of fill in the gaps.
Hmm.
And I started looking at even other prisons that I know existed at the same time. There was a big one in Kingston in Ontario, a few hours away. I was able to get some of those records. And then I mean, that's the beauty of writing fiction. I'm not an academic researcher, so when something is missing, I get to just make it up, and I'm allowed to do that. So I filled in those blanks. But when I'm making things up, I do try to make them, plausible and realistic and also historically accurate, where I am filling in those gaps, going, here is what could have or may have happened, and still serves the story within that sort of historical structure.
Were you able to speak to anybody that was actually in the prison?
I wasn't. I
Um,
wish, but I wasn't. Yeah. Yeah.
is that because you couldn't find the names, or I mean,
Yeah, and a lot of them would have been quite old by now,
okay.
and many deceased.
Right.
I mean, some of the women that were there as teenagers in the 60s, might still be alive, but it
Yeah.
was difficult to find them for sure
They all
for
had such
lots
difficult
of
lives
reasons.
also, so maybe most of
Yeah,
them didn't really live to ripe old age, so
it's possible. Yeah.
yeah. But the woman that was, I mean, the way I guess I could just say this, she was a journalist, so she was working for a magazine. How do you pronounce the name of that magazine?
Chatelaine.
Okay.
Yes.
Um, yeah, because we don't get that magazine down here.
Yeah.
We don't know it at all.
Yeah.
That woman that was the head of the magazine was really a person, right? I mean, you base
Yes.
that on a real living at that time person. I mean,
Yes. I'm fascinated by this character. And this character, I mean, yes, real life person. Her name is Doris Anderson. And she was the head of Chatelaine magazine, the editor-in-chief through the 50s and 60s and into the 70s. And as a historical figure in women's history and even media history, I find her so fascinating because she was decades ahead of her time. She was running a women's magazine when at the time women didn't really run much. There were no woman-headed banks, newspapers, law firms,
right.
radio stations. Like Chatelaine was it. She employed primarily women. It was almost an entirely woman dominated workplace. And by all accounts, she understood sort of the work-life balance of people having to leave early for sick children. She talked about the need for public childcare so that women could stay in the workforce. Um, it was really quite extraordinary for the time period. And so I just found that really, really interesting that she was kind of spearheading this different type of workplace that honestly sounds appealing to most women in 2026, let alone, 1963. So I wanted to sort of celebrate her. And she actually was instrumental down the road in the 80s in helping secure equal protections for men and women in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. She got into politics when she left Chatelaine and said, I
Oh.
really think we need this on the books that women and men are equal before the law.
Hmm.
Which, as you know, in the States, technically on the books, you're still fighting for that. So, yeah, Doris Anderson is a huge figure in Canadian history. And again, one of those that not a lot, the average person hasn't even heard of her. So I
Of course
really,
not.
really wanted to
Yeah.
celebrate her in this book. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think in real life she would have let somebody get themselves admitted to this prison?
I'd like to hope so. Again, that's some artistic license. She was
Yeah.
pretty protective, I think, but also quite adventurous. Like she didn't shy away from sort of going for the throat when called for. So I don't know. I'm making some assumptions there to serve the story, but I'd like to think so.
Right. And the name of the book, Liberty Street, you want to tell everybody how you came up with the name of the title?
Yeah, so this prison was in an area of Toronto, a neighborhood called Liberty Village. And I got my librarian husband to go track down when was Liberty Street named? Was it before or after this prison was built, or, what came out of what? And so the street was named for the women's prison, and there was also a men's prison that used to be beside it and was torn down eons ago. But Liberty Street was named because at the time these prisons were built, they were in the boonies of Toronto, way on the outskirts. Of course, the city has built up enormously around them in the years since, but they were very isolated. So Liberty Street was the street that the prisoners would walk down when they were released to the very sparse amenities in what was called Liberty Village, just kind of this little neighborhood where there would have been, some shops. Maybe you could have picked up a taxi there. I don't even know if the streetcars were built at that point yet, but that was sort of your first point of contact when you were released was Liberty Village. So it came to be known as Liberty Street.
Yeah.
So that just immediately came to me as, yep, that's the title of the book. There we have it.
And since you had to do so much research, how long did it take you to actually write the book?
It takes me about a year to write a book. And I do sort of a deep dive on my research when I first come up with the idea, just to make sure, is there sort of enough meat on these bones? And I find when I do the research, that also inspires characters or plot points or things that I hadn't considered. I find that in the research. So I do all of that sort of before I start writing. And then I get to a point where I'm very itchy and need to just start writing something. And as I write, then I do ad hoc research here and there where I stop and go, oh, here's something I need to know more about. I need to go research that and then I'll come back. So I do research as I write as well, but I would say it takes, yeah, about a year for me to produce the first draft of the manuscript.
Since this prison and the person, Doris, from the magazine were not well known to people in Toronto or Canada, how did you find out about it?
Actually, when I was in my undergrad, I had a fantastic prof who set me some readings. We were doing this like one-on-one study course in my fourth year, which was amazing. And so she would set me a bunch of readings. We would meet once a week for coffee. I would write some papers, and then we would chat about it. And she set me Doris Anderson's memoir and also the memoir of Velma Demerson, a woman who was incarcerated at this prison in the 1930s. So that was way back in like it's what 20 I don't know 2008 or something like that where I first read these stories. And so because I'm a book lover and I can't get rid of anything, when the time came to do research for this book, I went to my bookshelf and still had those memoirs and scooped them up and thought, okay, here's my material.
Do you have a long list of women issues and women that you want to write fiction about?
Yes, my problem is never a lack of ideas. It's
Okay.
actually too many. I'm always pitching new ideas to my agent and she's like, could we just finish the book that we're on now and then we'll talk about it later. But I'm excited to tell these stories. So they get in my head and then I need to start getting it down on the computer.
Yeah. Well, Liberty Street came out in Canada a few months ago, correct?
February, yes, we
Oh, it's
were
been out
really
since
hoping.
February.
Yeah, we were hoping for a simultaneous release, but
Oh,
it didn't happen. So
how
it's
so?
Tuesday, June.
Yeah, June 16th. But
Yes.
why can't it come out on the same day? Why is that an issue?
I don't know. That is honestly stuff above my pay grade in the publishing world. I'm not
Okay.
exactly sure.
But from what I'm reading, it's already a number one bestseller in Canada. It spent more than 3 months on the charts and is one of Indigo's best books of 2026.
Yes, it's been so well received. I'm really so pleased and humbled by it.
And
Yeah.
what is Indigo in Canada? How
It's our
does that?
Barnes and Noble.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's good. Glad to know that. Okay, so did you do a tour, a book tour for
I
the
did.
Canadian
Yeah.
version?
Yeah, mostly around Ontario. I didn't go too far flung, but
Okay.
yeah, had quite a tour and just had another event last night. I've been doing a lot of libraries as well.
Oh, great.
I love chatting with people about the
Yeah.
books. It's
Are you going
it's
to be doing a tour here in the United States?
Not so far,
Okay.
but we'll see. Yeah. I love doing these virtual events though, if I
Yeah.
can't be there in person.
No, no,
Yeah.
it's great. That's the only good thing that came out of the pandemic. Is now that we could speak to all these authors that we never really were able to do
Yes.
before. So it's a
Yes.
definite positive. There's no doubt about that.
I agree.
So, like I said before to you, that I read the book and I listened to the audio, which was fabulous. I want to give a shout out to Allison Doan and Haley Gillis. And it also has you down. Did you do? What did you do in the
I did the
audio?
author's note
Okay.
and yeah, and the acknowledgments at the end, but I think we recorded them separately, so they may not have been uploaded yet to the
They're not.
audio. Yeah,
Unfortunately, they're
okay.
not there,
Yeah.
but I did
Okay.
read them thoroughly last
Oh,
night.
good.
Your author notes are unbelievable,
Oh,
incredible.
thank you.
Everything that you put down in your author's notes. But no, that I went back today also to look, and I'm like, wait, where are her author notes? But they'll put them in.
I think they get
when
tacked
it
on
comes out
later.
on June
Yeah,
16th. Okay.
hopefully. Yeah.
So the book will be available on Libby for those of you listening, and we'll also get a print copy and have it here at the library. So if you're interested, please give us a call and we'll be happy to put it on hold for you. But yeah, excellent, excellent books.
Thank you
We
so
love all
much.
of your books. Like I said, the Looking for Jane, hopefully we couldn't keep that on the shelf. Hopefully we'll be able to do the same thing here because
Thank you,
it's
Evelyn.
really that great. Now, one thing which I was shocked at, I hope it's not giving anything away, that a father can just petition the court and say that his daughter is incorrigible and could be sent to prison.
I would like to tell you I made that up. I did not. There was legislation on the books in Ontario until, well, it was directly connected with the Mercer prison.
Oh,
It was one
okay.
of the reasons that it was repealed. They went, okay, this is outrageous. And in the 1960s, obviously, with the women's movement, sentiments were changing about control over women. But there was a book, or pardon me, there was legislation on the books that allowed for women to be incarcerated at places like the Mercer for up to 2 years for not necessarily having committed a crime. So, yes, a family member, a father, someone on the street, didn't even have to be a police officer, could take a woman before a judge and say she is, yes, unmanageable in some way. So, sometimes for parents, that meant she's dating someone that we disapprove of or keeps coming in after curfew, won't abide by our rules. Women who were prostituting or were unhoused would all get sent to this prison. And yeah, not necessarily even criminals, but they were incarcerated there for 2 years and then
It's
released.
unbelievable that that took
Shocking.
place.
Unbelievable. I had to read the act a few times. Like, am I understanding this right? Am I getting this right? Because this seems impossible. But
Yeah.
there it was. Yes, the Female Refuges Act, it was called.
And a lot of them were in because of postpartum depression.
There were psychiatric inmates at the prison. And in my story, yep, some of
Mhm.
the women are there because of postpartum mental health issues. And that was not uncommon at the time. People had no understanding or compassion for that. So one of my characters is inspired by a woman I found in my research who was incarcerated at a psychiatric institution in the weeks following giving birth. And reading it like through our modern lens and our modern understanding, I went, that's postpartum psychosis,
Sure.
which is very rare and very severe, but would have lifted, it would have alleviated over a number of weeks. And that woman was incarcerated at that prison until she died for a 50-year period.
That's
Um,
unbelievable.
which just, yeah, brought tears to my eyes, really, when I read that. I was absolutely shocking. So that inspired one of my characters in the story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are any of the I mean, I'm assuming none of the characters are based on anybody you know. I
No,
mean,
I don't usually do that. I've only done that twice with characters where I've kind of picked up someone I know from real life and dropped them into my
Mhm.
story. But I take little bits from people I know, little quirks or, turns of phrase that are common to them, and they'll end up sort of in my characters, but they're not usually
I
fully
mean, the
formed as
detective
other
could be based on, someone you know, but I wouldn't say any of the prisoners were.
No, no, they all came to me very clearly. Just popped into being in my head, which was a pretty fun process, that cast of characters at the prison. Yeah.
Do you outline or do you just go by the seat of your pants?
I go by the seat of my pants
Wow.
mostly. I am such an organized person in every other aspect of my life except my creative work, which still surprises me. But I find plotting actually kind of leads to writer's block and doesn't allow me to come up with a better idea as I write. Because often when I'm writing, I'll one up my own idea and go, oh no, that's way better. Let's take that direction. And if I plot too much, it doesn't allow that wiggle room for the
Hmm.
story to get better, I think. But I always know how they're going to end. And
Okay.
usually the prologue comes to me very early on, and I write the prologue and then go, okay, where are we going from here?
Well, your writing is spectacular. I mean, I've loved
Thank
all three of your
you.
books, and I'm hoping there's more coming.
I'm hard at work on the next one, and this one actually takes place in the States, in
Oh,
Massachusetts in the 1950s.
okay.
Yes.
So what kind of research are you doing for that? Did you come down to
Um,
Mass?
I wasn't able to. I've been doing
Oh,
some armchair research with helpful
okay.
librarians, but I can't say too much about it yet, but I hope to be able to share more soon.
Okay, because the other three all took place in Canada, right?
The Secret History of Audrey James was inspired by a Canadian, but took place overseas in
Oh,
England and
right, right,
Germany.
right.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, so you're equal opportunity. You go
Kind of,
everywhere.
yeah, kind of leapfrogging. I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I think the whatever story comes to me is the most important thing. But I think my themes kind of flow and are similar themes throughout my books. So hopefully, regardless of where the book is set, that's what readers will come for is
Right.
those themes and conversations.
Right. No, they're everything's fabulous.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
So do you look at your reviews?
Generally not. I try to stay away from them because I find they can pitch a tent in your head either way. If they're too glowing, I feel like it can cause you to get a bit of a big ego and stop trying so hard. But if they're really negative, that can stick with you. And you start to think I'm an untalented hack because this one angry person on the internet said they didn't like my book. What we do is so subjective, and
Hmm.
putting art out into the world is a bit of a mad thing to do. You're saying, oh, please criticize me. But it is so subjective. And a book that one person absolutely loves, another person does not see the point of, thought it was awful. And the reviews always run the gamut. So I try to stay away from them and try to just keep my North Star of what are the stories that I want to write and hope that the readers continue to come.
Okay, well, I went to Goodreads and your book is getting a 4.49 on Goodreads.
Oh,
So
that's
that's out of
lovely.
5. So that is really, really good. That's amazing. There's some quotes from some famous authors. I have one here from Kate Quinn, the one who wrote The Briar Club, and she says Heather Marshall's latest is dynamite. Two stories twined together with skill and suspense. A courageous young female journalist going undercover at a 1960s woman prison to uncover rumors of abuse. A dogged 1990s detective bruised from her own emotional wounds, creating a tale both timely and explosive. Liberty Street will linger long in the memory.
Kate
So,
is so generous with her
yeah,
blurbs. That
that's a
was
really
so, so
really
lovely.
nice review from her.
Yeah.
Really nice review. Yeah. So 4.49 on Goodreads. You can't ask for much better than that. So if you do want to take a look, it's not so bad. It's
Thank
something
you.
pretty good. Have
Thank
any of
you.
your movies been optioned for any of your movies? Any books been optioned for movies?
Looking for Jane did, and we got very, very close, but got really unlucky with the timing of the
Oh,
Hollywood strikes. And then politically, what's been happening in the States as well. Some really great production companies have been sort of shying away from it right now,
okay.
anyway. Maybe down the road it might see the light. And right now, Liberty Street's being proposed for optioning, but no bites yet. We'll see.
Okay. Good
Yeah.
luck with that.
Thank you.
Good luck. When do you find time to write? Is that your full-time job right now?
It is right now, yes. I've got a little one at home, so things
Oh,
are busy, but he's in school now, which helps.
okay.
So I have to kind of cram my work into as much of the day as I can. And I've got a very, very supportive family, so they're often grandparents are happy to help with childcare, so I can squeeze in some writing and around deadline time, things can get a bit hairy. But no, I'm so fortunate to be doing what I'm doing.
Do you have a deadline for your next book?
Yeah, next March, which is
Okay.
interesting because you think, oh, it's ages away, but you have to be quite self-motivated to stay on pace. And I tend to overwrite as well. I don't seem to be able to produce a manuscript with less than 130,000 words. I don't know why. So I hand it over to my editor and go, I know we're going to need to cut 20,000 of these, but here's the draft, and then we go from there. But so it takes a while to write that. So I do have to keep myself on pace to hit the deadline because it
Well,
will come up surprisingly fast.
do you
Yeah.
find that you write every single day?
I like to. Yeah, I actually get a little bit cranky if I haven't written in a day or two. I need to just get something out. And if I'm not writing, I try to read because it's always just even more reading just kind of inspires ideas and you see, other authors' voices and how they compare to yours. And it's just good to kind of be living in books, even if I'm not
Mhm.
actively writing. But yeah, I get a little itchy if I haven't written in a day or two. Got to get
What are
something
some of
out.
your favorite authors?
Oh, I jump around a lot. Right now, I've been long been a fan of Alice Hoffman. So I was actually
Hmm.
reading the Book of Magic, which is the origin for Practical Magic 2, which
Hmm.
comes out in the fall. So I thought, oh, I better read that one. And I've been reading her for a long, long time. And what else did I read recently? The Correspondent,
Oh, that
which
was
most
excellent.
of us loved.
Hmm.
Yes, I'm not alone in that one. And next on my TBR, what have I got lined up? I've got The Book Witch and the Calamity Club as well, which might take
Okay.
me all summer. That
Yeah,
thing
it's
is a
a
brick,
very
but
big book. Very, very large
yeah.
book. What do you read? Carly Fortune, another Canadian author that's taken off and done really well.
I don't read romance. I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
not a romance person. I've tried it and it's just not for me. I'm clearly in the minority, but it's just not for me. So yeah, no offense to Carly. Everyone loves her work, but
Yeah.
it's just the romance
Another,
isn't my thing.
another Canadian author
Yes,
that's
yes.
doing very well in the States. I mean, her
Yes.
books are doing fabulous. And now
Huge. Yeah.
yesterday it came out on Prime, one of her
Yeah, a
books.
couple series I
Yeah.
think are being made from her books. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and her books, I think almost all of them take place in Canada.
They do. Yeah.
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 So yeah, she makes it very scenic. Barry Bay, I think it's called. I don't, it
Yes.
looks
Yeah.
very, I haven't seen the pictures really from the movie. I haven't watched it yet, the TV show, but just the way she explains it in the books, someplace I'd like to go one
Yeah.
day.
It's Ontario's cottage country.
Oh, is it?
It's beautiful. It really is.
How
Yeah.
far is
Yeah.
it from Toronto?
Um, it depends where you're going, but usually about 2 or 3 hours. It's
Oh,
not too
okay.
bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's lovely up there this time of year.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah.
Not so much in the winter, but
Yeah.
we had a horrible winter down here also.
Oh, yeah. Just buried.
Yeah, it
We get
was.
the lake effect too, which I'm sure you do as well. And just,
Yeah,
yeah,
it wasn't fun at all. I mean, I went to
no.
school right on Lake Ontario, so
Oh, did you? Yeah.
yeah, in New
Yeah.
York, but
So you
it's
know. Yeah.
brutal, absolutely brutal. It's a good time to stay in and write
Yes,
during the winter.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so it was so lovely speaking with you, Heather.
You too. Thank you
I
for
wish
having me
I
again.
wish you all the best with this book. I will certainly be putting it in the hands of our patrons because it'll definitely be on my top list this year. I
Thank
really
you.
loved it. It was, I mean, a sad story because it is a sad story, being that it's based on truth, but so well written and the characters so well developed. And I just loved it. It was absolutely fabulous.
Thank you so much.
You're so very welcome. So we're going to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Thank you so much, Heather, for being with us.
Thanks, Evelyn.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.